Gear is the rule, absolute rule in any travel is do not take any new gear with you that you haven't tried out for at least a month. I'll repeat that. Even a filter, you have to try it first. You have to get your camera a workout because you never know what's going to happen. And believe me, it'll happen. As far as learning your cameras, you know, the digital equipment now are all mini computers, or mini mainframes, I should say, and a good guide to use to learn how to use your camera without losing the manual, which will put you all to sleep, is called the Magic Lantern Guide. Magic Lantern produces a book for all of the camera models that are out on the market, and it gives you a layman's version of what the features on your camera does, so it's very understandable. So I highly recommend those. Magic Lantern Guides, you can find them online or any bookstore. So what's in my camera bag? The least amount of gear as possible. When you're traveling on a long-term air, which includes air flights and a lot of walking or whatever, you have to remember you can't take everything with you. So you gotta leave something at home. And weight becomes a real issue when you're carrying a backpack on your back for a number of days or weeks. So I travel with, I use a Canon 40D. I have a backup. I'm going to talk a lot about backup. So your backup has to have a backup. So if my 40D goes out, I've got a 20D body. I may never use it, but it's there with me. So you don't want to spend a lot of money going somewhere and have one camera body and drop it, or lose it, or have it stolen, and then you're out of luck. I use 3 lenses. A 1785, a 10 to 22, and a 70 to 300. That pretty much covers me on any major trip. I don't shoot wildlife, so I don't need any big, heavy glass. I would use big, heavy glass, but I need a Sherpa to carry it around for me. So if there's any volunteers, just let me know. I also use a flash unit. Especially if I'm doing portrait photography and I want to put a little fill flash in the person's face. And a tripod. I could talk for hours about tripods, but I won't. But I'll say this. A tripod is the single most important investment you can make in your gear besides your camera. You must have a good, sturdy tripod with some weight to it, preferably that comes up to your eye level and doesn't have legs that are connected. I hear so many times, well, I want a really lightweight one, and someone will show up with little aluminum ones that come about this high, and they're useless. They're just a waste of money. So you have to have, and I asked them, I said, well, are you going to go, backpacking with your tripod? No. Okay, so then weight isn't that much of a really big deal. So it has to, I use Gitzo carbon fiber, but it has to have some weight to it, otherwise it's not going to do anything. Okay. Other stuff I carry, of course, lens paper, a cleaner. I photograph with a photographer's vest, and it's my routine, and if I don't have it on, I start losing things. So I know what goes in every pocket, where things are going to be, so I don't have to spend time looking for them. There are times when you're in a crowded situation where you can't have, a backpack. It's too cumbersome. The sling bags now that open in the front, a lot of people are using those. If you like those, that'll work for you. But what I'll do many times is just use my vest and put my lens on it and put an extra lens in my pocket, and I'm good to go. I do get them a little larger because I wear them over, bulky clothes. Okay. Flashcards, gotta have them. How many you want to bring with you is up to you. I don't travel with more than, I think, 10 gig. It seems to work for me. I also don't shoot with anything over a 4 gigabyte card. Anybody want to venture a guess why. It's ridiculous to have 8, 16 gig and more cards, and you fill it up and the card gets corrupt or you lose it, the camera's stolen or whatever. So I keep it to what I have. I make sure I download every night, no matter how tired I am. So I have, even if I shot a little bit, so I have the images, backed up. Some people just use the flashcards and don't do any backup. That's fine. It's probably a little more expensive way, but once again, if you lose your flashcards, you're SOL. So I wrote here, you never can be too thin or have too much backup. So what are you going to back it up to? A number of devices that are on the market, and it really can get confusing. My preference is I use a little passport hard drive. You can see it. And I also back up to my laptop, so I have the backup in at least two places. So you always, even if you back up, you got to back up your backup. Because anything, it's not when it's going to, not if it's going to crash, it's when it's going to crash. I always say have extra flashcards with you at all times. Everything goes bad after a while. Your batteries lose the ability to hold a connection, and even though you charge them and you think they're charged, like they run out right away. So batteries go bad, and flashcards also go bad. I just got back from a tour in the Palouse last week, and of course it was the last day and the last great location that we found, and the best photos of the trip. And I was downloading it, and it said that one file was corrupt, and I said, okay, but it's not downloading the last 1/3 of photos that I shot, so I'm going to have to see what I can do with some recovery software. So let's all have a moment of sorrow for my photos. Make sure you put your cards and filters in, if you use any lens filters, in a safe place. So in my carry-on bag, I make sure that I have my filters, and because they're breakable, and also my flashcards with me on board the plane, so I don't put them anywhere where they could get lost or stolen. So this is what I travel on board with. It's just a cheap expandable suitcase. It puts my laptop in here, and I shove everything else that I need on the plane in it. So this is considered my personal item. After a tour to Italy, Italy's really getting a bad rap tonight. Last June, I had a camera and a lens stolen out of my camera bag while it was on my back in the Cinque Terre coming out of the train station. And so what I do now is I have a little combination lock that I use on my camera bag to put the two tabs of the zipper to lock them together. I don't know how this happened, because I'm usually very, very careful, but I think they actually did it while I was walking. So, okay. I'm sure everybody has a format that they use, their routine for downloading their images. What I use is when I put them in, I call them the Dropbox. I'll say like Tuscany Dropbox and then the date. And then before I got CS5, I had to convert them to DNG. So then I would say, Tuscany DNG and then the date. That was my little routine. Here's something I learned recently and did not know. I was always under the assumption that once you formatted a card, you erased all your images. Does everybody else think that? It's not true. So as one of my techie friends pointed out to me, Mrs. Gale, where do you think those images go? Into the big black hole in the sky? And I said, I don't know. I didn't think much of it. But those images are still on your card, even if you format it, and they don't go away until you photograph over them. So once they're formatted, they're still there until you shoot over them. That was worth the price of admission, wasn't it? Okay. So we get to any more questions about gear, carrying it on board. I put my tripod in my check-on bag, my check bag, and I take the ball head off, wrap that up,